star? She's fantastic. Oh, wow. The music today has been so good, hasn't it? Right? I want to dance all the time. I embarrass my family all the time when I do that. So I'm from Connecticut. Well, no, I'm from Massachusetts. I live in Connecticut, in the US. And so there's a big local exposition. It's called the Big E, which means lots and lots of people come from about 6 different states. So a few years ago, I was there, and they play music like that, really good, fun music. So thousands and thousands of people around, and I'm dancing, and my daughter was 14. Yeah. What do you think she said? Mom, oh my God, don't do that. You're embarrassing me. I said, I'm just dancing. She said, I know, don't do that. You're making a fool of yourself. I said, I am having a good time. And my husband said, you're embarrassing yourself? Stop. And he and my daughter ran away. Literally, they ran away. Now, my son, who was 16 and very shy, extremely shy, but such a good boy. Do you know what he did? He starts dancing. So the two of us are there in the middle of everyone, dancing away. And my husband and my daughter are like, we don't know you, get your own ride home. So they're going to be absolutely humiliated when I tell them I'm flying home tonight. When I say, hey, guess what? I was dancing in the aisles, and I got up, and I was dancing on stage, and they're going to say, you know what? You haven't learned a thing in 10 years. That is so true. This has been a fabulous day, hasn't it? Yeah. Right? Yeah. You can't go wrong when you talk about wealth, sex, worth, right? It's been fantastic. And really, I so appreciate the chance to be here. And as I listened to everyone throughout the day, what really struck me was how each person brought together one of the pieces of how we actually use self-care for real life. The anti-burnout solution is to put you first. You. Now, you've heard several of us say that throughout the day. We're not kidding. And it's time, right? It's time for you to come first. Have any of you ever experienced stress? Trick question. Of course you have. We all do. Has anyone gotten to the point where someone said to them, I think you're burnt out, or you thought to yourself, I'm burnt out? I know. It's something that happens. And one of the things is that we often don't know what's happened. So there's been more than one time in my life that this has occurred, but I'll just take you back to a few years ago. I was working at a place where I had to drive an hour each way through traffic, which made me very cranky all the time. I would try to be on the phone with someone so that I had something to do, but I had to be there at work at 8 in the morning. So pretty much nobody wanted to talk to me from 7:15 to 8:15 in the morning, every single day. I loved my job. I really loved what I did. But I hated the commute. And so I focused a lot on the fact that I didn't like the commute. I really believed I was an accident waiting to happen because I went through a very high traffic area and every day there were accidents. In fact, I went to buy a new car and this was my criteria. If I look in the rearview mirror, how big is the back window? How much can I see? Because I was convinced that someone was going to hit me. And I did not want that to happen in this horrible commute. Like my life revolved around the commute. So one day, I got home. Now, we come into my house through the garage. So we walk in, and when you walk in, there's a little table. You might have a similar place in your house. This is where the mail is, and I go through the mail, and then that's also where other things are deposited regularly. There might be a sweatshirt, there might be the lunch bag, there's all sorts of things that are on that table. And every day I would come in, go through the mail, go do whatever I had to do. But this one day, I walked in, and I looked at the table, and I said, oh my God, what is this mess? Why? Why is there such a mess? What's going on? Isn't anyone ever going to clean this up? Actually, I used an obscenity, but I'm not using it now. And my husband looked at me. And he knew better than to say a word. And I said, seriously? Could anyone but me clean this up? Ever? Like, do you see what this looks like? And he very cautiously and gently said, honey, that's all your stuff. Yep, it was. That was the day I took a look at what I was doing. Because there was no reason for me to have this little freak out. First of all, it didn't matter. I mean, who cares? So what? It's not like the house police were going to come in and say, oh my God, you have a messy table, that's it. You lose the house, right? Not going to happen. But I was so struck by, frankly, what a jerk I was in that moment. Really hit home. And I began to think about what was I doing with my life. So I already told you I was complaining all the time about the drive. That's pretty much all I thought about was my drive. In fact, the night before I'd think about it, when I woke up I'd think about it, the whole way to work I'd think about it, then it would, for about 45 minutes at work I would be complaining in my head, about 45 minutes before I had to leave, the whole way home, you get the picture, right? And while this was going on, I realized I had stopped exercising, I was eating really crappy food, and then it struck me, I wasn't actually sleeping that well either. Because nobody really thinks that a couple of extra pieces of family junk on the table is worth a complete meltdown. It wasn't. And that's when it hit me that I was burnt out. Now, I'm a psychologist. That's what I do. I teach people how to not be burnt out. I teach people resilience. I help them know what's going on. And I began thinking about it. I'm like, oh, wow. I've been having stomach aches. My legs hurt. I have headaches all the time. Oh, check, 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 check. Yeah, there it was. The list that I would go over with someone I work with. Oh, good, I got 100. Yay. Good for me, right? Yeah. Okay. So that's when I realized, even though I'd been through this cycle before, that I had to do something radically different. Now, you've heard other speakers today talk about looking good. Robin talked about this, looking good on the outside, but something being missing on the inside. And that was the situation. For all intents and purposes, from the outside, it all looked good. I had a job I really loved. I mean, I hated the commute, but I loved my job, right? I had a really nice degree. I had a family, a house, kids. You know, so what if I embarrass them? That's what you do to your teenagers. No big deal. That was my job. Things were good, except I had not followed my own advice. I had not put me first. I stand here today as a mostly reformed workaholic and sorta reformed perfectionist. But I definitely stand here today as someone who absolutely knows how important it is to be in charge of who we are and how we are. So you are the CEO of your life. You're the one who's in charge of what you do, when you do it, and how you do it. You, and only you, are responsible for your thoughts, feelings, and actions. You're in charge. You're the boss. Only it's possible that, like me, you don't always act like the boss. Anybody not act like the boss of themselves sometimes? Yeah. If you're putting someone's needs before your own again and again and again, you're not being the boss of your life. And nobody else can live your life for you. It's up to you. It's great because you're responsible. It's also actually something you need to take really seriously because you're responsible. So if you don't like how things are going, who's that up to? It's up to you, right? You're the one who can and absolutely has the full power to do things differently. One of the things, if you want to use self-care for real life, and you don't want to do what I did, and get to a place where you're totally burnt out and you're freaking out about a hall table, which is not worth it, one of the things you need to learn to do is to be your own best friend. Now, you've heard that a couple times today, but it's true. That's why I wrote the book, because it's all about the fact that people, but particularly girls and women, we don't put ourselves first, and we don't treat ourselves like we're our own best friend. So we all do, as you heard, have that negative voice inside of our head that says, oh, you're an idiot, you didn't do that right, you should do this, you should, right? Whatever your particular words are, it's something like that, isn't it? And yet, the only person who can change that is you. Now, neuroplasticity is awesome. As far as I'm concerned, in my life, there are two things that are, well, aside from my kids, there are a couple things that I think are really amazing. Number one is the internet, because when I grew up, I did my doctorate, there was no internet, so I had to do everything, go into the library and card catalogs and things like that. So number one is the internet. But the other thing that's amazing is neuroplasticity. Because what neuroplasticity means is you can literally rewire your brain. Literally. When I started graduate school, what they used to teach was that you're born, you grow, your brain grows, you hit your late teens, early 20s, and it's all downhill from there, right? In fact, they used to say, like, don't drink too much and don't do drugs because you're going to kill off whatever you have. Like, savor those brain cells. You need them. Not that we don't, but neuroplasticity means that you can not just relearn and rewire, but you're growing new brain cells all the time. It's called neurogenesis. Hallelujah. Neurogenesis. This is hope. This is even more exciting than the internet. Because however your life has been up until now, it can be different. When you say, I can't do this, I can't do that, whatever, I'm not good at this, all of that can change. And it's neuroplasticity that tells us that that's something that can change completely. The key to neuroplasticity is very simple. Repetition. That's it. Whatever you repeat is what is the strongest. Whatever you repeat is what is strongest. So if you're repeating, I'm no good, I'm no good, I'm no good, I'm no good, and then you try a little affirmation, oh, but I'm good, which do you think is stronger? I'm no good, which is not true. But you've held that thought. So you can rewire through repetition of where you want to be. That's pretty amazing. That's a lot of power. And this is why I'm talking about being your own best friend. Because, and here's how you do it. If you think to yourself, whenever you have a thought, oh, I'm an idiot, I shouldn't have done that, that was a mistake. How could I do that? I'm so embarrassed. If whenever you have that thought, you stop and think of someone that you love, and think to yourself, well, what would I say if it was them? That's all you have to do, because you know what you would say to them. The example I use with my students all the time is, if I'm walking along with my friend and I trip, what does my friend say to me? Are you okay? Right? And then I say, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And what does my friend say? Don't worry about it, no big deal. Or maybe they laugh with me, right? And they're like, yeah, I know, you do that all the time. By the way, I'm glad to know I'm not the only one who trips on flat surfaces. I'm famous for tripping up the stairs. It takes skill to do that. You could practice. Right. So, we all know what my friend would say to me. And it's so different than what I would be saying in my head, right? So all you have to do is, any time that you have one of those thoughts in your head, stop and say, what would, fill in the name of someone who loves you, what would I say about that to them? Or, what would they say to me? You can do it either way. Either way is going to get you the answer. And so when you do that, when you think that thought, I'm an idiot, how could I do that? And then think, wait, what would, so I think of my daughter, Sandra. What would I say to Sandra if she told me she was an idiot? I'd say, oh my God, honey, no, you're not. You're awesome. You're amazing. You're wonderful. All right. That's what I need to say to me. That's how you use neuroplasticity to rewire to be your own best friend. You start there. Now, one of the other major things to prevent burnout and to recover from it is laughter. This is a super cool fact. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that helps you feel good. The single largest amount of dopamine that you can get, other than from an illegal drug, comes from laughter. Right? Laughter. Have you ever been in that situation where someone tells you something and you start laughing, and you're laughing so hard that tears are streaming down your face, and you're like, oh my God, my stomach hurts, ah, ha, ha, you're killing me, stop, but you keep laughing? If you think about that for a minute, how did you feel inside? Did you feel good? Yeah, even when your cheeks hurt, you're like, oh my God, I'm laughing so hard, my cheeks hurt, stop, right? But you feel good. Laughter is a secret weapon against burnout. There's also, has anyone ever done laughter yoga? Oh God, okay. I'm really glad that someone has. I really don't know how to do it. But I'm going to give you an example of what it's like, because really all it means, what it really means, is just laughing. And as you begin to laugh, then you begin to actually really laugh. So you can start with a fake laugh, and then it can turn into a real laugh. So are you guys willing to try that with me? Okay, I'm telling you, I'm telling you ahead of time. Well, you'll see. Okay. I'm going to say it, you follow. Ready? Ha, ha, ha. Ho, ho, ho. Ha, ha, ha. I can't help it. Oh my God. See? I can't get any further. I try. I really try. But it just cracks me up. I listen to me trying to do this, and everyone else trying to do it. It just cracks me up. But when we laugh, we feel better. You can start your morning. I'm saying, just keep laughing, right? And you're like, oh my God, that's fabulous. Yes. Absolutely. Right? Laughter, good music, right? Taking charge of you. What this means is as you've heard. Say no to other things and say yes to you. Right? That's how you're going to prevent yourself from coming home and ripping your husband to pieces because there's all of your junk on the hallway table. It's about saying no to the extra things and yes to the things that bring you joy. And it's about stretching and trying new things. So I used to always say I'm not creative, which really in my head meant I can't draw. But regardless, it was I'm not creative. And then people would say, yes, you are. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not. Or like, okay, sure, thanks. But, I didn't think I was. So part of preventing burnout is finding ways to be creative that bring you joy. So this is my newest creative venture. I made this special to come here today with all of my favorite stones, just because it's very calming for me to sit and do the beading, which I didn't think I could do. And I do need magnifying glasses, but that's okay. That's all right, because I had fun. And it's on stretchy, so I can play with it as well, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Bless you. But bless you, my child, yes. So no to others and yes to you. And the final thing, if you really want self-care for real life, what you need to do is celebrate, because that's how your rewiring is going to stick. All of that repetition, if you want to supercharge the repetition, celebrate. So every time you do something that's important to you, I want you to go, yeah, way to go. Good for me. However you do that. Ideally, and it's strongest if you do it out loud. So we'll end with this. All right. Think of something that you've done recently that made you feel good, whatever it is. Got it? All right. Yeah, let me hear it. Yeah. One more. Yeah. Good for me. Oh, yeah. Ready? I'm a rock star. Yes. Thank you.